Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Domino's Diecast. Today I'm going to be featuring one of my favorite models. Not only is this one of my favorite models, but this is also actually one of my favorite automobiles ever produced as well. You are looking at my 1958 Edsel Citation in 1/18th scale. Everybody knows the story of Edsel. Well, just about everybody knows the story of Edsel. Kind of tragic, but has a good ending. To me, Edsel represents everything that the 1950s is and was. And the reason I say that is because, despite the failure story about Edsel failing as an automobile launched by Ford back in 1957 is when they started to launch it, but the first model came out in 58, a year after. Edsel only lasted between 1958 and 1961 officially. So not very long at all, only a few years really. The 1958 model is the most sought after, and one that I would love to own myself one day. Doesn't matter the color, but I would love to have one in its exact color. It was known as chalk pink, even though I like to refer to it also as salmon pink. Chalk pink with white. And I think it was one of their most beautiful models they ever made. Now, the story of Edsel. Before I get to my saying of why I think that Edsel represents most of the 50s, the story of Edsel was launched by Ford. They failed as a car, not entirely, but they couldn't keep up with all of the other automotive makers, and they had a poor marketing. They did advertise the hell out of it, though. Like, there were ads for Edsel everywhere. They were very proud of their creation and naming it after Henry Ford's son, Edsel. And it failed because the first models right off the line, they had numerous problems. They were quickly built. It was not to say that all 58 models were like this. It was just the first few off of the line. Sometimes the little decorative stars on the hubcaps would fall off on the highway. They would sometimes break down just driving down the street. A lot of people it was mostly young people. Although there were some young people that liked it. Young people criticized the design. For one thing, the young people, they wanted cars with big soaring tail fins. Edsel did not have big soaring tail fins. In fact, they hardly have any tail fins at all. Although they had kind of swoop-backed flat tail fins, what I kind of consider. It kind of looks like it's in flight. As you know, in the 50s, most vehicles wanted to look like airplanes and were referenced by jets, and just wanted to look futuristic during the late atomic age going into the space age. They criticized the front end of the design. Some people say it looked like a mercury sucking a lemon. That was a real popular one. Even my grandfather used to say that, although he actually kind of appreciated Edsels. I think they're very elegant automobiles, very forward-thinking. The most forward-thinking part about Edsel was their teletouch transmission. And this was only in the 1958 models. I'm going to open up the door here on the driver's side. I'm very careful with this model, as you can tell. I'm careful with all my models, but this one is very much babied because it's one of my favorites. Now, in the center of the steering wheel you see those buttons. That was the push-button transmission called the teletouch transmission. With just one touch, you could change the transmission of the vehicle automatically, and you could even do it while driving. It was amazing for its time. Now, obviously, that has now been copied. You can get cars with push-button transmission. It was never in the center of the steering wheel. Ford believed that having it in the center of the steering wheel kept the driver in complete control of the car. Your hand would always be on the wheel, so why not keep the transmission there too, instead of having to reach over to the side or reach above you or wherever else. It kept the driver in full control of the vehicle and hence being safer. And I actually agree. The trunk does open. The only problem with my model here is that occasionally this taillight will fall off. When it was shipped to me, it arrived that way, and I think it just got a little bumped around. As you can see, the taillight just came off. But it's alright. I will eventually glue it back on. That is the only thing that is wrong with this model. There's the spare tire. And look, it even has the actual star on the hubcap and everything in the spare tire. I've never taken it out of the trunk, though. Pretty good sized trunk. Edsels were not luxury vehicles. They were priced just above the lowest price, but still affordable. They were kind of family cars, is what they really were. Most Edsels are actually very well running. It was just, like I said, the first few right off the line that had problems, but they quickly corrected that. But unfortunately, by the time they had corrected that, the damage had already been done, and people just didn't believe they were reliable. And also, they launched the Edsel during a very temporarily, I think it was an oil shortage in the late 50s. It only lasted for about a year or two, and the people just, it was a slight recession in the automotive industry at the time, but it really, some people would say that it really hurt the automotive companies, but honestly it really didn't. There were many cars that were sold in 58 and 59 model years, and they're actually some of my favorite years in the 1950s was the last years. Now, why I think this represents the 50s in general is that Edsel had so many options that so many other cars did not. You could go and literally choose any color combination you wanted. If you wanted it blue and purple, you could have it blue and purple. That'd be god-awful ugly, but if that's what you wanted, you could have it that way. You could choose the upholstery. If you didn't want leather, you could get cloth. And it wasn't even at any extra cost. You could still buy the same priced Edsel with all of the options. Car companies just don't do that stuff anymore. You can have them made any way you want to, yes, some cars, but it's kind of limited. And all of the chrome styling on this, I mean, just look at this right here, the Edsel logo, or emblem right here on the side, and that big sheet of chrome that goes swooping all around. Lovely accent. 1958, most cars had the most chrome ever seen on automobiles, including my favorite, which was the 1958 Buick. That had the most chrome of any vehicle ever made. And that was actually one of my other favorite cars besides the Edsel. I know that even though the front grille was criticized, I actually like it. I think it's unique for its time. And of course the double headlights. 1958 model year for all cars. Double headlights actually became legal in all states. Before that, only certain states it was legal, so most cars only had one headlamp on both sides. The hood does open. Let me open that right now. It actually opens this way, almost like a European car would. You don't really see that too much on American automobiles in the 50s. They really didn't open that way. I love the big E hood ornament on the front. Right above the grille there. You can see the detailing. That's why I love 1/18 scale, and you'll probably hear me say that often on here. Let me open up the side passenger door for you so you can just get a look at the dashboard from this angle. You can see Citation written right there on the glove box. Another model from this year was the Pacer, Edsel Pacer. There was also the Bermuda and the Roundup. The Roundup is extremely rare. It was a station wagon, actually. There were two station wagons this model year, the Edsel Bermuda and the Roundup. The Roundup was only a two-door station wagon. The Bermuda was a four-door wagon, and hence more popular among families. The 50s was all about these beautiful pastel colors, and this lovely shade of pink is no exception. I may love black and white, but I would easily own a chalk pink colored Edsel, no matter what. I wouldn't even care if this car came in red. I would love it. And I really don't favor red cars very much. I think red is kind of gaudy on most cars, but on a classic it's beautiful. The 50s is all about their innovative styling and thinking toward the future, and they just don't make cars like this anymore. You instantly can tell it's not like anything else on the road. Even among all of the other 1958 models that would be driving around it. It stood out. It caught attention like it was supposed to do. Thankfully, even though Edsel folded up by 1961 officially, there were a lot of people that sought out to preserve them, and they are still preserved to this day. You can still find them. Some of them need a lot of work and still need saving, but you can still find parts to them. And if you just take care of them, they'll run forever. And I plan to get many more Edsel models in the future too for my collection. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. I also wanted to mention that this model actually was a gift. It was bought for me by Maya. One of the first gifts he ever got for me, actually. That makes it even more special to me. I'll see you next time on Domino's Diecast. Bye for now.